Other stories our EWTN News Nightly team is covering in today's world. ISIS claims responsibility for the deadliest terror attack in London in over a decade. It comes as police identify the attacker who killed 2 people and injured 40 outside Parliament Wednesday.
This was an attack on free people everywhere.
Prime Minister Theresa May speaks to Parliament, which still gathered despite the deadly attack the day before.
We are not afraid, and our resolve will never waver in the face of terrorism.
British lawmakers observed a moment of silence for those killed and injured. In a tweet, President Trump adding, "A great American, Kurt Cochran, was killed in the London terror attack. My prayers and condolences are with his family and friends." Cochran and his wife Melissa were in Britain to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. Melissa is hospitalized with a broken leg and other injuries from the attack, but her brother says she will recover. British security forces carried out raids across the UK overnight with multiple people arrested. Police identify the attacker as 52-year-old Khalid Massoud. They say he mowed over pedestrians in front of Parliament Wednesday before crashing into a gate. The driver stabbed and killed an unarmed officer, 48-year-old Keith Palmer, before being shot and killed by police. Faith leaders in London condemn the attack.
We stand together for peace and reconciliation within our nation and across the world.
On behalf of the Muslim community also, that is, I take advantage of to really show our condemnation of what happened and also express our condolence to the victims and to their families.
Pope Francis is also praying for the terror victims and their families. The Vatican Secretary of State sent a message to the Archbishop of Westminster on the Pope's behalf. It reads in part, "His Holiness Pope Francis expresses his prayerful solidarity with all those affected by this tragedy." Italy increases security for this weekend's meeting of European Union leaders in Rome. After yesterday's attack in London, Rome will play host to 27 leaders to mark the 60th anniversary of a treaty that laid the foundation for the European Union. Vatican correspondent Mary Shovlain joins us from Rome. Mary, let's start with the Vatican. It's a very symbolic, it's also a high-risk target. How are they handling security?
Wyatt, you can even hear behind me right now, the sirens have been going all day around this area. And what struck me the most was that there's no foot traffic leading up to the Vatican. The roads have been closed to car traffic, but today even foot traffic was prohibited. A great increase in police and military vehicles in and around the Vatican area, because the Vatican, as you mentioned, is always a high and symbolic target for terrorist activity, threats continuously coming in towards Rome and the Vatican in particular. And the heads of the European states that are coming here for the Rome Treaty celebrations are going to meet with Pope Francis right here tomorrow night. So all eyes will be on the security surrounding this area tomorrow evening.
Well, noting that meeting, Mary, then what is the security like in general in Rome and throughout the rest of Italy?
In Rome remains at a very high terror level threat of 2, the highest being 1, which means the country is directly under attack. So that remains intact, terror level 2. The Anti-Terror Commission had an extraordinary meeting this morning in light of the events that took place in London to reassess security for this weekend's events. They said, we can't let our guard down here even for a second. They're going to be having controls land, sea, air, train stations, all roadways leading into the city. And Wyatt, we have to point out that there are going to be, besides the celebrations taking place for the EU Rome Treaty signing 60 years on, there are going to be a lot of demonstrations taking place all over the Eternal City on Saturday, pro and anti-EU. And about 30,000 people are being bussed in just for that, added to the Romans who will be taking part. Security forces are worried, most of all, that people will infiltrate those rallies and do damage. Not the people coming to protest for their certain ideology, but people using those marches to do damage and put the police here at risk.
It sounds like they are definitely going to be on high alert. And as you mentioned, it's going to be a big one this weekend. Mary Shovlain, EWTN News Nightly Vatican correspondent. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Wyatt.